So, before we start, just a quick reminder of how the book club functions. Our intention is only to have a dialogue. हम लोग एक दूसरे के point of views and opinions को सुने. हम लोग जिसने भी जो पढ़ा है, अगर किसी ने book नहीं भी पढ़ा है, I'm sure you know all of the books that we read are books that are very related to the current socio-political climate usually. So even if we haven't read, there are things that are linked to the book. So personal experiences be, if anyone wants to share, we are only here for a dialogue. And we used to do a book each month. I think we have shifted to a slightly different format जहाँ हम लोग 2 महीने तक एक book पढ़ रहे हैं because एक महीना is of course a little too much pressure for all of us, and sometimes we pick books that are a little heavy. So if we have 2 months, it's just nicer to do it थोड़ा laid back अंदाज में. And then at the end of the month we take suggestions. तो जिन लोगों ने भी join किया है, even everyone in the chat group, we can all like do a poll 3 से 4 बुक का and then decide ऐसे consensus के basis पे कि क्या हम लोग अगले महीने के लिए read करेंगे. And there is what's expected is sort of the opposite of the point we're trying to make. There are no expectations. हम लोग बस इसको like let's not take pressure about it. If we read a bit of the book, great. If we read the entire book, amazing. Not that serious. हम लोग यहाँ पे discussion के लिए आए हैं, and it is not necessary that we come having read the entire book. If we do, that's great, of course, but let's not see it as a chore, but more of an engagement, inshallah. Yeah. So last month we'd done the introductory session, like I'd said. So we had talked about the author, the context, and all of that. And this month we're just going to do a chapter by chapter reading of the book itself. So before we do that, we can all have a look at what's on this slide and whatever we've read, not read, because I think we had also, like me and some other people as well, we had shared kuch WhatsApp group chat में book club के like videos or articles and things. So even if आपने book नहीं पढ़ा and you have skimmed through those or watched the video थोड़ा, so if you have anything to share, please do. We can start with asking ourselves, what was the overall impression of the book? I'll go first. I think for me it was I've read a few of Angela Davis's other works, but this was very different in the style it is written. तो ज़्यादा engaging लगा हमको ये book because obviously इसका it wasn't really a writing style as such, as it was more like lectures. तो easier to understand for me, honestly. उतना like obviously दिमाग लगाना पड़ेगा book read करने में, but it was जो बहुत heavy concepts भी she's explaining and discussing are easier to grasp in the way they are written in this book. And then a lot of other things. Yeah, I don't think there was anything that I disagreed with in this book, but that is again because I think personally Angela Davis has like really only made a lot of valid points. At least abhi tak I've not come across anything that I disagree with her on. And the main takeaway from this reading was before we had chosen this book, हम लोग का intention ये था कि we pick like as a sort of a break or something, we pick a book that is equally intellectually engaging but a little bit hopeful in its tonality. तो हम लोग ऐसा book read करें जिससे थोड़ा हम लोग को you know, because this book is about collective action, so what we can do, how we can sort of continue the the you know the fight for and our intention to seek greater, deeper understandings of freedom and have that in our social institutions and larger structures. तो वो मेरा उस हिसाब से greatest takeaway यही था कि we really do have to do everything that we can do. हर छोटा छोटा you know actions have a greater impact, or it is very important to realize कि individual responsibility है, but it is more of a individual responsibility to do collective action rather than individual responsibility. जैसे हम लोग को like global warming के context में कहा जाता है कि तुम if you individually recycle all your waste, the world is going to like magically become a better place, which is not true because there are corporations doing 1,000 times worse than whatever we are doing as individuals. So all of that, yeah. So we'll start with chapter 1. Chapter 1 में she's sort of setting the tone. So what we had discussed was the Ferguson incident, the shooting of a black man, and all of the protests that uske baad had risen. And so what she discusses is primarily, because we have already discussed this chapter बहुत briefly, primarily कि जो police force है in the US and elsewhere is a very militarized police force, because the police force as an institution is a very questionable one. It is one that we should question, because we say, you know, that the common sense understanding is that the police exists to protect us or whatever. But of course we know कि जो सच है is that the police force and the larger structures around it are only there to protect the people in power. It is for their benefit. It is to, ये भी कह सकते हैं कि it is to keep the masses subdued to some extent. So we have to reassess how we think of these institutions. And जो individualism का narrative हम लोगों के current like capitalist society में बहुत prevalent है, because of course under capitalism the individual is the, you know, smallest फैक्टर दैट देयर इज. तो उस हिसाब से जब हम लोग सोचते हैं, हम लोग का सारा थिंकिंग एक बहुत इंडिविजुअलाइज बेसिस पे ही फंक्शन करता है, चाहे हम लोग किसी भी चीज़ के बारे में सोच रहे हो. तो वी हैव टू सॉर्ट ऑफ अनलर्न दैट एंड रीलर्न अ मोर कलेक्टिव अप्रोच टू आवर ओन लाइव्स. कि हाँ, हम लोग, यू नो, लाइक इवन सोशल मीडिया पे देयर इज दिस ट्रेंड राइट नाउ वेयर पीपल कीप सेइंग आई एम द मेन कैरेक्टर इन माई लाइफ एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. आई डाइग्रेस, वो एक बहुत फनी चीज है आई गेस, बट वी कैन लिंक दैट टू दिस इज वेल कि हम लोगों का थॉट प्रोसेस ही इतना ज्यादा सेल्फ सेंटर्ड इन सम वे है एंड इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड है कि हम लोग सिर्फ अपने तक ही सोच रहे हैं. एंड द लार्जर मूवमेंट्स अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, लार्जर प्रोटेस्ट जो है, इट इज सो ईजी. आजकल वी हियर एवरी अदर पर्सन से आई एम नॉट इन टू पॉलिटिक्स, आई एम नॉट इन टू दिस एंड दैट. एंड ये इंसिडेंट तो हम लोगों के कंट्री में भी नहीं हो रहा है, तो हम लोग क्यों इसके बारे में, you know, care करें. People have been saying this so much for Palestine, for Sudan, for so many other situations. But that is what Angela Davis is saying कि हम लोग अगर इस तरीके से सोचते रहें, तो जिस तरीके का फ्री वर्ल्ड हम लोग इमेजिन कर रहे हैं, one where the masses are not oppressed, one where the prisons are not, you know, a source of profit वगैरह वगैरह, is a reality जो हम लोग से बहुत दूर है, अगर हम लोग ऐसे ही सोचते रहें तो. So that is sort of the gist of chapter 1. And another thing she discusses is questioning how we learn from history is very important. ये चीज throughout the book is reiterated. I think chapter 7 या 6 में भी फिर से इसका mention है कि हम लोगों को जो हिस्ट्री सिखाया जा रहा है और जो हिस्ट्री एग्जिस्ट करता है are, I mean, they're not completely different, but of course the history we have been taught is not necessarily the history that we should be learning. तो हम लोगों को खुद से थोड़ा critical thinking use करके, थोड़ा outside the typical sources explore करके, we have to, you know, go beyond what is given to us as history, because it is very easy to say, she says this in the book also in a later chapter, कि we say कि Abraham Lincoln had freed the slaves, but ये एक बहुत simplistic idea है. और even that, you know, जब how do we say, Native Americans के पास colonizers आए, तो the way it is taught in American schools as well, and usually भी ये बहुत एक popular narrative है कि it was a very harmonious handing over of lands and resources to them. Like जो Native Americans थे, उन लोगों ने अपने like अच्छाई के तरफ से ऐसा like they gave them these resources, which is also not true of course. तो हम लोगों को जिस तरीके का simplistic narrative सिखाया जा रहा है, उस सबको question करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Even with Palestine we hear it. It's so easy for people to say कि you know, these people are terrorists or they are creating violence in that area. तो हम लोगों को जो बताया जा रहा है उसको अगर हम लोग ऐसे ही ले लें, देन हम लोग एक बहुत क्वेश्चनेबल यू नो तरीके का सोसाइटी जो एग्जिस्ट करता है उसको परपेचुएट ही करेंगे, एंड वी वोंट रियली बी एबल टू डू एनीथिंग प्रोडक्टिव आउटसाइड ऑफ इट. Chapter 2 was Ferguson का importance in the global context. This also we have discussed at length. कि same thing that I said, the military nature of the US police force is very important in the sense कि ये सिर्फ US के लिए नहीं है, ये हर जगह ही है. When you see protest में riot gear पहन के police force क्यों निकलती है? It's not like the protesters are usually not armed ever. किसी भी कहीं के भी protest को आप देख लो, यहीं के protest को आप देख लो, it is not like the protesters are out to kill people and commit like violent acts as such, but the response from an institutional level is always that of violence, and that is of course a quote unquote legitimized violence. And a lot of other things. Yeah, so the abolition movement for prisons as such is very important क्योंकि she links this through the entire book कि जो feminist movement है वो भी इस abolitionist movement से linked है very essentially, and जो anti-racism movements है वो भी prison abolition से linked है. Even the Palestine conflict she links to prison abolition because the structures that are used in the context of a prison are also used in all of these other contexts of oppressive systems around the world. तो हम लोगों को, if we question one, we have to question all of them. तो जो status quo है उसका at the very core we have to ask why it is the way it is, and usko trying to change it. Of course, the death penalty, she says, is structural racism, and ये एक later chapter में भी discuss हुआ है कि we can't say, like she says it in I think chapter 9 when she talks about Obama ka election as the precedent, and she also talks about again Lincoln freeing the slaves. So she says कि एक इंसिडेंट या एक स्ट्रक्चरल लेवल पे चेंज से वी कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट कि ग्रास रूट लेवल पे भी चेंज आ जाए. अगर हम लोग लेजिस्लेशन बना के कहते हैं कि अब सारे स्लेव्स फ्री है, या हम लोग लेजिस्लेशन बना के कहते हैं कि अब लिंचिंग्स आर इलीगल, whether in the context of US black people or whether in the context of Muslims in India, if we make a law and say lynchings are illegal, it doesn't mean that the lynchings stop occurring. तो जो structural inequalities है उसका answer can only come from a grassroots level. It cannot come from a legislative या फिर उस तरह का institutional level से उसका solution नहीं आएगा. वो that can be the first step, but it cannot be the answer to what the people are asking for, what the people are protesting for. And global structure of state violence is a legitimized one, of course. ये when people or communities or protesters quote unquote commit violence or even question the institution, that is हम लोग को पता है कि these structures not acceptable, but state violence as a response to it is very normalized. चाहे वो protesters को जेल में डालना हो, चाहे वो उनको रास्ते पे like you're attacking policemen, attacking the protesters, or tear gas ka usage, all of that is very seen as normal and appropriate. So we have to question all of that as well. Chapter 3 also we've discussed, we cannot rely on the government for the kind of freedom that we want, and even at the most we can put pressure on the government, but the kind of freedom that Angela Davis imagines, which is of course a world where women, all indigenous populations, all minorities we cannot expect the government to do that hard part for us. It has to come from us, because she says later in the book कि हमारे जो officials जिनको हम लोग elect करते हैं, हमारा जो government है वो change लाता है, not because it is good change or it is change they want to bring या it is convenient change. It is only because उसके पीछे लोगों ने प्रोटेस्ट किया है, लोगों ने लीडर्स को इनकन्वीनियंस किया है, वेदर इट इज लाइक रास्ता बंद और वेदर इट इज एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ प्रोटेस्ट जिससे डेली लाइफ में इम्पैक्ट होता है, उसके बाद ही द लीडर्स टेक दीज एक्शन. सो इट इज नॉट कमिंग फ्रॉम कि उनको दिल से दे हैव अ चेंज ऑफ हार्ट एंड दे थिंक वी नीड better systems, but it is because people have demanded better systems, people have fought for these better systems. And So there's this very nice quote in chapter 3 ki the mass movements can bring about systemic change. It cannot come from legislation or for example the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act. Ye, like I said, ki it was not, she says, a result of a president taking extraordinary steps. It happened as a result of people marching and organizing. And mass movements can make politicians and administrations stand against their own ideologies. So politicians can have very right-leaning ideologies, but you will see in many cases ki when there is enough discontent in society, when there is enough protest against it, they will cave at one point or the other. वो लोग they will have to pull back. Maybe they will not, like, obviously overnight turn into left-leaning parties or politicians, but they will at least reel back thoda bahut apna extreme ideology. Chapter 4 mein, this is a very interesting chapter. I think this was my favorite chapter that I read in the book, where she discusses Palestine as something that we need to look at for global solidarity. And like Palestine, everywhere else, she says कि we cannot have global solidarity जब तक हम लोग एक या दो जगह को ही तवज्जो दे रहे हैं. अगर हम लोग दुनिया में हर जगह के हर inequality को, like, it's obviously we cannot know everything about all of these places and inequalities at once. हम लोगों को उसका context और उसका historical aspect में भी हम लोग उतने अच्छे से नहीं जानते हैं, but it is important to educate ourselves and it is important to realize that they are all interconnected. The interconnectedness is at the core of the book. That is sort of the main point जो author is making. So she talks about all of these corporations that are profiting off of the genocide. And we know this, we know about BDS, we know about boycotting all of these companies, but that is slightly different from this, I think, because that is companies that are investing money in the occupation. This, she's talking about companies that are actively profiting off of it, which is security companies. So she gives the example of G4S, which is, I think, a security company, which is helping like manufacture surveillance के लिए sort of the technology and the infrastructure that is needed to at a very structural level keep an eye on the Palestinians, keep them in place and keep them oppressed the way they are. So and at the end of it, she says prison abolition and Palestinian freedom are deeply interlinked. Not just these two, of course, every freedom struggle is linked, but these two in particular, because like I mentioned earlier, prison ka jo structural form hai, which is based on surveillance, based on trying to sow discontent among the people in it, and the way there is no one answerable for assaults and crimes that are committed within a prison. So it is very well known ki prison mein, how do we say it? People are assaulted, people are violated, and all of that within the prison. They are not given health care, they are not given any sort of medical care if they need it. Very often, ye sara, my incidents we hear about. So it is very similar to the way we talk about Palestine as an open air prison. So the structural sort of thing is the same, and we have to recognize that to understand that the US is also implicated in the Palestinian situation. In many ways, it is implicated, but in this particular way also it is. And then, so I think until chapter 4 we had discussed last time. And so chapter 5 to 10 are, all of the chapters are sort of following exactly the same theme, which is of collective action. And chapter 5 may Angela discusses closures and continuities. So basically the idea is कि हम लोगों को जो ये बहुत neat and clean like phases of history बताया जाता है कि slavery exist करता था, then it stopped existing, ये such and such oppressive system exist करता था, and then we got rid of it. It is not उतना black and white, of course. Excuse me. And the way things are, existing institutions are a reflection of पुराने institutions that were equally or even more oppressive. So for instance, she says कि जो अभी का prison system है in the US is sort of a reflection or an extension of slave patrols जो slavery के वक्त पे हुआ करते थे, which was essentially people policing and disciplining slaves. Slave patrol was more. I've also heard of incidents of the slave patrol जहाँ पे slaves try to escape. Excuse me. If slaves tried to escape, they were caught and brought back by the slave patrols. तो उन लोगों का काम essentially यही था कि जो white owners, slave owners हैं, उनका जिंदगी आसान बनाए और जो slaves हैं, उनको discipline किया जाए, उनको उनके oppressive system में conveniently रखा जाए. Yeah, so sorry, just give me 1 second. I think network issues है कुछ. Can you guys hear me? हम audible हैं क्या?
Yes, Sarah, you are.
Okay, great. Jazakallah Samri. Yeah, so like I mentioned, challenging the common sense of existing institutions. Prisons not only as continuation of slavery but also understanding that एक वक्त पे slavery को एक बहुत normal और अच्छा institution भी माना जाता था. This is important because उसको presently prison के साथ compare कर रही हैं Angela Davis. Not compare in terms of intensity or anything like that, but compare in the terms of the fact that prisons are seen as very normal today. And अगर किसी ने crime commit किया तो उसका बहुत ही common sensical answer हमारे पास यही है कि उसको जेल भेज दिया जाए. But again, this is not a what's it called? This is not a restorative sort of justice. It is more like तुमने कुछ गलत किया and then you are sent to a place where there is no attempt to, reintroduce you to society or sort of help you come back as a better person or anything like that. And also prisons को हम लोग इस तरीके से देखते हैं कि बुरे लोग को वहां भेजा जाता है, but we are never made to think, which is what Angela wants us to do, कि किस किस्म के लोग जा रहे हैं जेल. It is not just the question of कि जो हम लोगों को somewhat पता है कि हाँ इंडिया में ये और ये जैसे मुस्लिम्स या फिर आदिवासी पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा है जेल में compared to the dominant Hindu population. In the US, black African Americans and Mexicans are a greater proportion of prison inmates than white people. ये पता है, that is true. But even beyond that, कि prison में हम लोग ऐसे क्यों prisons को imagine कर रहे हैं कि they are maintaining safety and social harmony, because that is not true. There is so much data as well available कि for serious grievous crimes like rapes or assaults or murders, people are let out of prison also very easily, depending on I guess to some extent identity as well, but even in general. So it is not like it is ensuring safety of society at large, but it is more about the profit that prisons are getting us. So she says कि the way slavery was abolished through collective effort, even though it was seen as एक बहुत ही normal और अच्छा institution, उसी तरह से हम लोगों को prison abolition के लिए भी work करना पड़ेगा. And of course it's not going to be a very easy or straightforward route to actually getting prisons abolished, but it is something that we have to do hard work for. And this reminds me of a larger point that she makes in another chapter, I think, कि हम लोग जब किसी चीज के लिए कलेक्टिव एक्शन ले रहे हैं, हम लोग जब किसी चीज की तरफ एक्टिवली वर्क कर रहे हैं एज अ सोसाइटी, एज पीपल हु वांट अ बेटर फ्यूचर, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि ये करते वक्त हम लोगों को हमारा एंड गोल बहुत क्लियरली दिखे या फिर रियलिस्टिक भी लगे. Very often, like it is right now, हम लोगों को the kind of world that we imagine एक बहुत ही unrealistic idea लग सकता है, but we have to sort of keep at it and we have to not what Angela Davis says, but maybe be a little bit delusional and keep working towards it. कि जिस तरीके से हम लोग अपनी लाइफ में बहुत कुछ अल्लाह सुब्हान ताला पे छोड़ देते हैं, प्योरली तवक्कुल के बेसिस पे हम लोग अपना काम करते हैं, इवन व्हेन वी नो कि ये बहुत टू सम एक्सटेंट अनरियलिस्टिक है, अनलेस थिंग्स कंप्लीटली फॉल इनटू प्लेस, ये नहीं होगा, एंड देन इट हैपेंस समटाइम्स. So I guess somewhat similar. That is how I read this. कि similar to that, we have to like थोड़ा बहुत blindly keep working towards what we believe is, a better and a more egalitarian society. In very specific context, we have to keep working towards it. And वो ज़रूरी भी नहीं है कि हमारे lifetime में we get to see it or something. But we still have to work towards it and do the work that will form the basis for it. So the Montgomery 1955 bus boycott is very interesting in terms of continuities. The first one was, I guess, continuities as well, which is कि वो 1995 का जो bus boycott था during I think the civil rights movement, was that इस bus boycott में Black women were the main people who participated. So they were the main users of the bus, and उन लोगों का contribution has sort of been erased from the boycott narrative, क्योंकि उस वक्त पे ये सारे domestic workers were the ones who primarily used the bus. So of course when we talk about the boycott, it Angela Davis says it's obvious that they were the ones who were doing the boycotting, but उनके बारे में कहीं पे भी बात नहीं किया जाता है when people talk about this specific historical incident. Rather Martin Luther King Jr. के बारे में बात किया जाता है, who is seen as the leader of the civil rights movement, and उनको credit दिया जाता है इसके लिए. Again, we are not questioning Martin Luther King Jr. as an individual and his contributions. His contributions have been great, but we are questioning how he has been placed in history and उनको क्या जगह दिया गया है इस incident में compared to the black women who actually worked for it. So she says, Angela says कि he's seen as the leader of the civil rights movement and he's credited for this bus boycott, whereas the actual fact is कि he only emerged as a prominent figure after this 1995 incident. इसके बाद उनको as a contributor he has done a lot for the civil rights movement, but not necessarily during this particular incident. But what she says in the book is that it is very beneficial for existing institutions अगर हर movement और हर इस तरह के incident को एक singular लीडर असाइन कर दिया जाए. वो लीडर चाहे इंडिविजुअली एग्जिस्ट ना करता हो उस टाइम पे, मे बी दैट पर्सन मोस्ट लाइकली वाज one of many contributors. This she says again about Martin Luther King Jr. and a lot of other black activists कि वो लोग 10 में से एक थे, उनके जैसे exactly उनके जैसे सेम लेवल का कंट्रीब्यूशन देने वाले 9 लोग और थे. बट to assign a leader to each movement also means कि बहुत easily ये हम लोगों के दिमाग में ingrain कर दिया जाए कि movements cannot exist without singular leaders. And if that is done, then it is very easy to in the present context get leaders assigned to a movement and then get the leaders removed. So the moment the leader is removed from the context, the movement also falls apart, because हम लोगों को तो यही सिखाया गया ना कि movement का एक leader है and the leader heads the movement, takes the calls the shots, all of that. But that is not necessarily true. So it is very important to remember कि collective action में it is quite literally the people, everyone involved and their contributions. So lastly, the erasure of radical reconstruction. This was a very interesting section of the chapter क्योंकि इसके बारे में हमको genuinely पहले कुछ नहीं पता था. I didn't even know this was an actual period in history in the US. So Angela says कि this era is rarely acknowledged in historical text. She says कि उस वक्त पे there were black elected officials. There were there was action to improve public education, and public education एक बहुत central aspect था इस radical reconstruction period का, जहाँ पे the black people were fighting for the right to equal and free education of course, and उसका benefit सिर्फ उनको नहीं हो रहा था, all other minorities were benefiting from it. So the white children in the south, poor white children who had not had education, gained access to education as a direct result of the struggles of former slaves. ये Angela Davis कह रही हैं. So what was happening was we were actively moving towards a more equal society, and this of course did not last very long, क्योंकि if we take 1865 as the date of the abolition of slavery, 1877 तक radical reconstruction वाला era था, and then it was overturned. So if there were any legal changes that had occurred, they were overturned, and social level पे भी generally all of these positive changes were reeled back and overturned. So ये एक बहुत short brief period of history था, but इसके बारे में बात नहीं किया जाता. Because again, if we talk about it, it breaks the continuity of what we understand the freedom struggle to be. Because this shows us that it not only has it happened, but it is a very realistic and it is a very realistic thing that we can actually aim for. Like ऐसे कहते हैं ना कि अगर ये पहले हो चुका है तो ये फिर से भी हो सकता है. So again, the point about history and how we understand history. So we have to keep questioning closures and neat endings in history. The same way Indian history के लिए we can say कि what we were taught in 7th and 8th grade, that Gandhi ji with his non-violent marches, drove the colonial forces out of India. And while to some extent it is true कि of course we cannot ignore Mahatma Gandhi's contributions, but again there were so many other factors, there were so many other forces, there was Netaji's entire army and all of that. So अगर हम लोग हिस्ट्री में रिविजिट करके सारे एस्पेक्ट्स को खुद से क्रिटिकली एक्सप्लोर ना करें, देन वी गेट लेफ्ट विद दीज वेरी कुकी कटर आइडियाज ऑफ हिस्ट्री, जिसमें हम लोगों को करंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट के लिए कुछ भी सीखने नहीं मिल रहा है. वी विल नेवर रीड हिस्ट्री एंड देन अंडरस्टैंड हाउ वी कैन इन द प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट like protest and work for a better future and all of that. So again इसमें एक बहुत interesting quote tha, which is she says Orlando Patterson has argued that the concept of freedom as we understand it today is something that must have first been imagined by slaves. Chapter 6 is Asata Shakur and the labeling of terrorist violence. So this is very similar to जो हम लोगों ने पिछले बुक में पढ़ा था Good Muslim Bad Muslim में, कि the war on terror and how who is categorized as a terrorist is a very telling systemic thing, कि कुछ populations को ही हम लोग terrorist label करते हैं and other populations को we don't, we give other explanations and excuses for their actions. So Asata Shakur was a communist leader in the US. She was I think a part of the Black Liberation Movement as well, or some, I forget the name, but yeah, so she was accused of murder in the US, and उनके ऊपर ये charges लगाए गए थे that she had shot a police officer. And then Angela says in one of the, I think it was an interview, chapter 6, जिसमें she says कि no, it was a speech, sorry, जिसमें she says कि it is, if we look at the records, it's very obvious that she had not committed murder, she had not shot anyone, based on very specific details about the incident, कि timelines नहीं match होते and all of that. So after she was labeled after she was accused of murder, she escaped to Cuba, and Cuba में वो अपना rest of her life she has spent in Cuba working there. And in 2010 or 2015, somewhere around that time, Asata Shakur was brought up again, US government के through, and they labeled her as a terrorist. And she was put on the, I think, the top 10 like terrorists or violent forces ऐसा कुछ list में she was added, and then the whole incident was brought up again basically. So about this, Angela says कि first of all, of course, it is, we have to question कि किसको terrorist assign ही किया जा रहा है. and it is very reminiscent of, she says, President Nixon's Purana rhetoric of labeling the Black Panther Party as terrorist. And of course, Angela Davis herself was placed on this list of terrorists at one point, and uh, this is something that in the larger context also we can understand as anyone who is questioning existing structures. Not maybe उनको जरूरी नहीं है कि उनको एक टेररिस्ट लिस्ट पे डाल दिया जाए, बट उनके बारे में इस तरीके का प्रेस होगा, उनके बारे में इस तरीके का नैरेटिव स्प्रेड किया जाएगा कि पीपल विल want to distance themselves from these leaders. So if there are leaders for a movement who are doing specifically for that movement, doing great work, but it is antithetical to what the government wants, उनके बारे में जो बातें कही जाएंगी will be such कि हम लोग डर के या हम लोग उससे अपने आप को दूर करने के लिए हम लोग उस पूरे मूवमेंट से ही अपने आप को हटा लें, so that that movement dies down, things like that. So she says कि yeah, other than this, she also says in this chapter कि जो बहुत फर्स्ट चैप्टर से ही वो बोल रही हैं कि किलिंग ऑफ माइकल ब्राउन का जो प्रोटेस्ट था इन फर्गसन, उसका और पैलेस्टाइन का बहुत बड़ा लिंक है. बट इन दिस चैप्टर शी स्पेसिफिकली मेंशंस कि हम लोग जो कलेक्टिव एक्शन के बारे में बार बार बोले जा रहे हैं, वो इसलिए है क्योंकि लाइक शी गिव्स एन एग्जाम्पल कि जब फर्गसन में प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे थे और प्रोटेस्टर्स पे टियर गैस और तरह के चीजें यूज की जा रही थी, तब Palestinians and Palestinian activists had been tweeting, and through social media and other forms, they had gotten in touch with people at large and Ferguson protesters in particular to let them know how to combat it, कि tear gas का effects को कैसे reduce किया जाए या फिर कैसे अपने आप को protect किया जाए जब हम लोग on ground protest में हैं, things like that. So it was like a moment of solidarity एंड रिमाइंडर की हर जगह पे सेम टैक्टिक्स ही यूज किए जा रहे हैं सारे गवर्नमेंट्स, चाहे वो एक सेटलर कॉलोनियल फोर्स हो, चाहे वो एक इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट हो, जो पावर स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं और जो पावर में लोग हैं वो लोग सेम तरह का फॉर्मेट्स एंड वो यूज कर रहे हैं टू कीप द पीपल सबड्यूड. So this was a very interesting point in this chapter because ऐसे बोलने के लिए of course we can understand कि all movements are linked, but when you talk of a specific incident where people on completely different ends of the world are not just bonding over but actually sharing help and advice कि हम लोग किस तरीके से अपने बहुत different governments but even then बहुत similar governments के against protest कर सकते हैं. And I guess government is the wrong word to use because we can't use that word for Palestine and the Israeli settler colonial force. But yeah, so all of this for chapter 6, and I don't know किसने chapter 6 read करने का कहा था. I don't think there was anyone, but I do remember कि chapter 8 and 9 someone had like 2 people had picked from in the group chat. So after chapter 7, inshallah, let's hope ki if anyone's read chapter 8, if they want to talk about it. Yeah, so chapter 7 again, I think हम repetitive होके बार कहे जा रहे हैं कि ये बहुत interesting chapter था या ये मेरा favorite chapter था, but chapter 7 was about the truth telling project. It was not entirely about the truth telling project, of course, but this is something that she discusses in the chapter, and I thought was one of the core aspects of it कि this is a project that is not founded by Angela or anything of that sort. वो एक larger project exist करता है, but उसके बारे में वो बात करती हैं. And I think for one of the events of the project in St. Louis or something like that. Yeah, it was St. Louis, where Angela Davis was the keynote speaker. So the truth telling project is basically a community based project जहाँ पर people get together and they discuss and talk about their own personal experiences and the experiences of people around them. So, of course, personal experience, but also, for example, if someone was killed in a racially motivated incident by the police or something like that, that person's friends or family might want to, say something about it, things like that. So, एक this was seen as this is an archive of resistance, where people get together to share very specific, very personal experiences and to question the narratives जो dominant structures में भी perpetuate करना चाहते हैं, because ये हर incident के साथ होता है, right? If there is a lynching, if there is a uh, uh, racially motivated या फिर um, उस तरीके से motivated murder which is like based on and perpetuated by systemic violence, इन सारे incidents में the dominant narratives that are peddled are very often different from what actually happened. And in a lot of these cases, the typical structure is कि जिस इंसान का डेथ हुआ है और जिन लोगों का डेथ हुआ है उनके बारे में नेगेटिव प्रेस बहुत आता है, which we also, I think, we also see it in the case of lynchings of Indian Muslim men, where retrospectively it is declared that they were, how do we say it? Maybe harassing a woman or something like that, and committing sexual assault. All of these are, of course, it's not to say that they are true. It is to say that ये narratives उनके बारे में निकाले जाते हैं after their death, after they have been lynched or incidents like that. So the truth telling project is about countering dominant narratives and also to oppose and deny institutional gaslighting. Institutional gaslighting is not a word she uses in the book, but I do think that we can call it institutional gaslighting, because जो events हो रहे हैं, incidents हो रहे हैं, उनका अगर एक बहुत twisted narrative, dominant narrative हम लोगों को feed किया जा रहा है, I think this is a good way to describe it as well. Excuse me. Yeah, so what I'm about to say was not in the chapter, but I've read an article about this truth-telling event in St. Louis, जहाँ पे about the event, the article mentioned कि throughout the event, names of Black men and women who had suffered tragic deaths due to police brutality was echoed in remembrance. An outpouring of love was extended to the families of those who had been lost to racism and an unjust system. Sorry. Yeah, so the Truth Telling Project is basically a means of collective healing and solidarity.
Sarah, do you need a break?
I think if I can take 2 minutes and just maybe drink some water, that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. अभी तक जो सारा ने कहा है, would anyone like to add or just कुछ incident if they are remembering, would they like to chip into that? I can see new names. So if you'd like to share what you're feeling about what you have heard till now. Anyone? Samreen, Saima, Aisha.
So I haven't read this book, but one of the points that I heard from what Sarah was speaking about, where how one leader is talked about when it comes to any movement. And matlab, till now, the way I looked at things in the books and all, I used to feel like, okay, fine, at least truth was being said then, and maybe things are being changed now. But considering that point of view, how movements are associated with one leader, because then it becomes easy for them to uh, like मतलब एक लीडर निकल गए तो पूरा मूवमेंट फॉल हो जाएगा. So वो आइडिया को वो आइडिया को वो आइडिया की वजह से like they highlight one leader, they associate the movement. So this was an eye opening for me, at least.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Jazakallah khair for sharing, Samrin. So would someone else like to share? मेरे को एक चीज अच्छी लगती है एंजेला डेविस की, जो थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ा है, ज्यादा नहीं पढ़ा, उसमें कि हाउ शी एक चीज को वो अलग से नहीं देखती है, तो इंटरसेक्शनैलिटी को किस तरह से वो डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करती है कि जो हमारा स्ट्रगल है वो रेसिज्म के भी खिलाफ है, कॉलोनियलिज्म के भी खिलाफ है, पेट्रियार्की के भी खिलाफ है, और इन सम वेज कैपिटलिज्म के भी खिलाफ है, और ये सब इंटरकनेक्टेड है। तो वो जो इंटरकनेक्टेडनेस दिखाती है ना प्रेजेंट सिस्टम्स में, कि जैसे ऑप्रेस हो रहे हैं लोग, क्यों हो रहे हैं, इनसे कौन बेनिफिट कर रहा है, इनको इनसे कौन लॉस में आ रहा है, ये सिस्टम कैसे ऑपरेट कर रहा है, ये मेरे लिए बहुत आई ओपनिंग है। Aisha mentioned कर रही हैं कि she loved Sarah's take on being delusional about working for a just society. Yeah, and in some way, like Islam also encourages it. ना ना उम्मीदी कुफर है, तो you just do and you leave the rest to Allah, because we know कि अगर यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं भी मिलता है, at least आखिरत में we can say we did our best.
Yes, absolutely. Jazakallah for sharing. All of you. Sameen Api and Sanya Api. And I think the point about being delusional, it's so true, because the way what Angela Davis is saying is also to some extent not delusion, but like unwavering hope. And if we tie that in with our tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greater plan, it becomes that much stronger. So if we like put these two together, maybe जो नाउमीदी हम लोग feel करते हैं, that will be easier to like tackle. हाँ, तो let's go on and complete chapter 8 to 10, and then inshallah once we are through all of the chapters, I'm sure we all will have something to say, and if we do, we can then do that and discuss it. So we'll quickly run through ये last 3 chapters. Chapter 8, 9 and 10. 9 and 10 हम कल रात पढ़े, तो these two have not like मेरे दिमाग में उतने अच्छे से आई डोंट नो हाउ एज टू से, बट लाइक मेरे दिमाग में उतने अच्छे से ये मैरिनेट नहीं हुए कि हम इनके बारे में बहुत क्रिटिकली सोचे हों, बट फिर भी we'll just get through all 3 of them. Yeah, so chapter 8 में she talks about the black feminist thought and abolitionist theory, which is I think was mentioned in the chapter 1 या 2 का slide as well, which is that ये दोनों they are not necessarily interlinked, but if we do interlink them, it is a much better way of analyzing and looking at the movements and how they are like very deeply interconnected, even though हम लोगों को ये दिखे नहीं. तो the abolitionist theory, of course, is about prison abolition, and in the context of the US, वो black feminist thought के साथ बहुत linked है, because black feminist thought is much more critical of present structures than white feminism. This I think आजकल we all are at least slightly maybe familiar with it, because इसके बारे में अब तो memes भी बनने लगे हैं ना कि वो white feminism and you know for example like Taylor Swift and her private jets and all of that. तो white feminism का critique, even if we have not engaged like ऐसे बहुत literary angle से, हम लोगों को उसका एक बहुत ही like maybe watered down version at least social media से we are familiar with it, which is I think is a great thing कि किसी चीज़ के बारे में अगर डिटेल में ना भी पता हो, बट थोड़ा बहुत भी अगर हम लोग को ये like fun ways के through at least we are encountering it anyway. So yeah, तो she says कि इस चैप्टर में एक ब्रीफ critique of white feminism भी वो देती हैं, which I think it's very brief, but it's something to some extent that we understand कि at least as Muslim women we understand कि white feminism is not, you know, it for us. It is not what we can entirely get behind, because a lot of it is rooted in not necessarily white supremacy, but negating of other people's experiences. तो उस तरह की फेमिनिज्म जो डोमिनेंट आइडियाज है उसमें मुस्लिम वुमेन्स जेंडर्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस या ब्लैक वुमेन्स जेंडर्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस को उतने सीरियसली नहीं लिया जा रहा है. एंड सेम वे इफ वी टॉक अबाउट white feminism, we can also talk about Brahmanical feminism to some extent. Those two are not the same, but they are very similar in terms of their own context. कि savarna feminism जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं. So she says कि sorry. Yeah, so if our feminism, she says, isn't rooted in a historical understanding of the feminist struggle, we will of course क्या होगा कि हम लोग बहुत surface level issues में entangle हो जाएंगे. जिस तरीके से हम लोग like अभी इतना like basic and also questionable debates about, you know, makeup as a choice and all of that, which is not really okay. I guess to some extent they can be productive, but there is so much more to talk about when we talk about feminism and black feminism and intersectional feminism. So if we are not careful, basically वो कह रही है कि feminism को हम लोगों को not just as an action but as an ideology adopt करना होगा, in the sense कि वो हमारे पूरे thought process को reframe करे. हम लोग हर चीज को कैसे approach करते हैं उसको reframe करे हमारा feminism. So for example, if we talk about the capitalist context, which we are all inevitably a part of, कि feminism to some extent has been watered down by corporations to mean, you know, Women's Day sales and buy this and that to be like a good feminist or something like that. And feminism के guise में हम लोगों को बस products sell किए जा रहे हैं. So we have to, if we are not critical, we will obviously fall for it, and then our feminism will become a very watered down version of what we actually need. So unless we view it as an ideology, which has to be an undercurrent in everything that we think and everything that we do, वो फिर एक बहुत, you know, different direction में चला जाएगा. It will not be a productive sort of fight against gender inequality. So she says feminism must be anti-racist and anti-capitalist if it is to be a truly liberatory movement. Again, if we talk of like current examples, ये जो एक बहुत recent I think American Eagles का jeans वाला campaign, जिसके बारे में social media पे people have been talking so much and I've seen so many memes about it कि it's very not regressive but very reminiscent of a very eugenics based conversation, even if it is being posed as like a fun or slightly funny thing. But yeah, all of that. So if we are not careful, we will inevitably, you know, reiterate racist and capitalist structures in our feminism. तो अगर हम लोगों का feminism anti-capitalist, anti-racist, and I would say anti-Islamophobic also नहीं है, then our feminism is going in a very non-productive direction. It is going in a direction that is only reinforcing existing institutions. Feminism that is not anti-capitalist is going to benefit the capitalist structure, and feminism that is not anti-racist is going to inevitably benefit the racist structures. So yeah, this is sort of the base of chapter 8. And she says, there's a quote from the book, feminism insists on methods of thought and action that urge us to think about things together that appears to be separate and to disaggregate things that appear to naturally belong together. This is a very broad quote, which is, I guess, good because it can be applied to so many things. So if things seem very obvious, we have to question that through our feminism, whether it's gender roles, whether it's how we think of, you know, this whole thing of, if you're talking about it, we can also bring up the example of how feminism has made its way into, not feminism, of course, but this sort of non anti-racist and anti-capitalist feminism has made its way into the military, and how we think of the military system as well. For example, we think of, in popular culture and in dominant narratives, ki women are now allowed to participate in the military, to enlist and to, you know, train in the army. We think of it as like a beneficial or like a step forward. But then again, what is that military system perpetuating? If it's perpetuating occupation, whether it's in India, whether it's in Israel, if it's perpetuating occupation of certain lands that don't belong to us, then it is not feminism, and it is not a productive or progressive change at all. So I've seen quite a few papers written on this, and if I can find them again, I'll share in the group, inshallah, ki, how Israel is also using women, quote unquote, who have pretty privilege also on their social media pages to like water down हम लोगों का understanding of the violence that they are perpetuating. So if you see reels of women in the IDF uniform dancing to like trendy songs and things, it's because that is also a sort of psyop that is being used by them to normalize and sort of make it seem okay ki, oh, like violence ho raha hai, but maybe it's not that bad, sort of a thing. So where is our feminism taking us? If our feminism is taking us in a direction where we are okay with and cheering for female members of an occupation force, then that is a very questionable sort of feminism. So that is just an example that I thought of. But yeah, sorry, chapter 9, she says ki every historical change is a result of a mass movement and not a president's goodwill. Of course, this we, I think, covered in chapter 4 or 3 abhi just earlier, which is to say ki whenever a change has occurred historically, it has occurred because we have, as a collective, fought against the government and not requested or politely begged the government to make a certain change. We the people are the ones who have, you know, urged or brought about a change. It has not come out of, like people say, President Lincoln's goodwill and his decision to free all the slaves. So it has not been that way, of course. And circling back to a lot of things that we have discussed earlier, critiquing the ideas that leaders alone deliver justice. It is the movements that build pressures for leaders to act, and when the leaders act, that part is what we are maybe being fed as a dominant narrative ki, see, dekho, the leader has decided to do such and such for the benefit of such and such community, but uske पीछे का जो सारा protest and बहुत दिन का slowly build करता हुआ pressure था, वो maybe we are not shown इतने easily. And very interestingly, she talks about institutional memory, which I had not heard of as a phrase before. She says ki institutional memory and individual memory दो बहुत अलग planes of existence पे हैं. Individual memory is a lot more ephemeral and it's a lot more short term, I guess, compared to institutional memory. क्योंकि institutional memory exists, for example, जिस तरह से racist institutions जो past के हैं, उनका racist ideology current institution में भी दिखेगा. The way we talked about the, what was it, slave patrols and police force in the US. So it is a different institution, but it is sort of a continuation of the same institution. And तो उस पिछले institution का racist core इसमें translate होके आ गया. And then I guess, which is why we also hear a lot about ACAB, which is all cops are bad. And this we initially, I think, came up in the context of the US. But abhi, I have seen people also use it in Indian context, in terms of, you know, when talking about the Indian police force and when talking about other countries के police forces, जहाँ पे there is talk of protests and the police trying to subdue the protests. I've seen people use this phrase a lot more frequently these days. So the ACAB thing is also linked to how institutional memory is समथिंग दैट वी कैनॉट इग्नोर। हम लोग कह सकते हैं कि नहीं ये एक दूसरा इंस्टीट्यूशन है और ये एक बेटर इंस्टीट्यूशन है, बट उसका हिस्ट्री क्या है उस इंस्टीट्यूशन का। फॉर एग्जाम्पल द FBI का हिस्ट्री जो है, सो वी कैनॉट एक्सपेक्ट दैट in today's day the FBI will act in ways that are not going to negatively impact other countries, things like that, yeah. And she says challenging impenetrable realities makes them penetrable, which I think is very like एक optimistic and also realistic way of looking at things, because हम लोगों के लिए जब हम लोग as an individual सोचते हैं किसी institution के बारे में कि भाई ये तो एक बहुत like टाइम से चलते आ रहा है, ये बहुत पावरफुल है, ऑब्वियसली इट्स अ लॉट मोर पावरफुल देन वी एज इंडिविजुअल्स कैन एवर बी, बट अगर हम उसको इस तरीके से देखें कि वो पेनेट्रेबल है, वो चेंजेबल है, वो इंस्टीट्यूशन और वो रियलिटी जिसमें हम लोग एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, तो उसको चैलेंज करना बहुत आसान बन जाता है। अगर हम लोग उसको क्वेश्चन करना शुरू करें, देन वी विल स्टार्ट फाइंडिंग द क्रैक्स एंड वी विल स्टार्ट फाइंडिंग यू नो things that are not necessarily what we have been told. And once we get to that point of questioning authority, questioning institutions, फिर उसको चेंज करने की तरफ हम लोग मूव कर रहे हैं। द फर्स्ट स्टेप इज क्वेश्चनिंग इट। इफ यू डोंट क्वेश्चन इट, ऑफ कोर्स कोई चेंज तो आने वाला है नहीं, बट अगर हम लोग उसको क्रिटिकली उसको देखना शुरू करें, तो फिर वो दरवाजा अपने आप खुल जाता है टूवर्ड्स movements or action to critique it and take it down. Lastly, finally, we're at the end, and chapter 10 तक पहुंच गए, which is global solidarity. Again, this is throughout the book. She says global solidarity is a non-negotiable. हम लोग जितना भी चाहे इधर बैठ के इधर का ही अच्छाई बुराई सोच सकते हैं, इधर का ही प्रोटेस्ट पे फोकस कर सकते हैं, बट उससे कुछ खास फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला unless we actually think of the world as one and unless we actually think of the masses everywhere as connected. अगर हम लोग ये सोचे कि इंडियन पॉपुलेशन और स्पेनिश पॉपुलेशन बहुत अलग है और अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन का स्ट्रगल हमारे इंडियन मुस्लिम के स्ट्रगल से बहुत अलग है, तो फिर ऑफ कोर्स हम लोग सिर्फ इधर के बारे में केयर करेंगे, उधर के बारे में नहीं। या फिर पैलेस्टाइन एंड कश्मीर आर वेरी different from each other. If we think that way, if we think in compartments, then there will be no solidarity and there will be no systemic change as such. So this also, I mean, sort of when I was reading this कल रात को, it reminded me of the Delhi dog situation right now, जिसके बारे में बहुत like not surprisingly but बहुत बात किया जा रहा है उसके बारे में, and of course it is a very callous way जिसमें the government has tried to deal with the stray dog situation. I'm not at all saying कि we should be okay with it, absolutely not. Animal rights is also important, and like जो एक specific area के लोग who were very used to feeding उस locality के dogs and all of that, I can completely understand how harrowing it must have been, and ये है एक serious issue, but it reminded me of the fact कि जब तक हम लोगों का solidarity नहीं है एक दूसरे के causes के साथ, सब लोगों को individually गिराया जाएगा, individually target किया जाएगा, because the people who speak out against, who maybe spoke out against the dog situation recently, a lot of them maybe are people who have the very apolitical wala opinion or something like that, or people have spoken out for this and not for other things. Spoken out not in terms of आप verbally किस चीज के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं या social media पे post कर रहे हैं, that is completely different. उससे तो it is more about action, I guess. But it made me personally think कि it is the same government that has been targeting Adivasis and their lands. It is the same government that has been targeting minorities, Indian Muslims, and indigenous populations in so many states of the country. And जब तक हम लोग सब चीज के खिलाफ आवाज नहीं उठाएंगे, वो एक चीज के खिलाफ जब हम लोग आवाज उठाएं तो हमारा आवाज बहुत वीक भी रहेगा उसको सुनने वाले भी बहुत नहीं रहेंगे. So global solidarity, and I guess at a smaller scale, solidarity within like smaller spaces as well, and autonomous communities outside the regulation and structuring of government and other institutions is also very important, because this is also similar to the truth telling project जिसके बारे में हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, कि वो truth telling project भी एक तरह का autonomous community ही था, जिसमें लोग एक institution के existence के बिना साथ आकर अपने personal experiences और अपने experiences against not against but caused by institutions के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, and that also was a way of community building, a way of extending solidarity to each other and reaching out to each other. तो जब तक हम लोगों का autonomous communities नहीं होगा, जिस तरह से for example I guess Muslim Women Study Circle is also a community in that sense. So if we don't have those, it becomes very difficult to raise our voices and to actually critically engage with existing structures. And of course, building trust linked to all of that. When we try to get together for collective action, trust is, I guess, in some ways automatically built when we start interacting with each other, when we step out into the world and realize कि हम अकेले नहीं हैं और बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनको इस चीज़ के बारे में वो लोग केयर करते हैं और वो लोग एक्चुअली एक्शन लेना चाहते हैं, जो मे बी जब हम लोग एज इंडिविजुअल सोचे तो हम लोग के पास एक्शन लेने का तरीका नहीं हो, बट व्हेन वी गेट टुगेदर वी कैन टेक एक्शन. सानिया आप यस सॉरी.
जज़ाकल्लाह खैर सारा, the whole way you presented and इतना कुछ, इतने सारे ideas present करना और इतने beautifully eloquently वो तभी इंसान कर सकता है जब उसको बहुत अच्छे से ऑब्जॉर्व कर लिया है अपने ज़बान पे. सो जज़ाकल्लाह खैर फॉर दैट, फॉर द एफर्ट कि हर चैप्टर तुमने डिवाइड किया, उसके की पॉइंट्स बताया. रियली ग्रेटफुल फॉर दैट. मैं सोची थी कि वक्त कम है, तो एक क्रिटिक जो जब मैं ये पढ़ी तो मुझे तो बहुत ही बहुत अच्छा लगा. बट एक जो ऑब्वियस क्रिटिक है, बिकॉज वी आर अ मुस्लिम वुमेन स्टडी सर्कल, मुझे लगा कि लास्ट कुछ मिनट में वी कैन ऑल्सो डिस्कस सम क्रिटिक. एंड उसमें एंड एक्चुअली आई डोंट नो कि ये क्रिटिक वैलिड भी होगा कि नहीं, बट इट्स जस्ट देयर इन माय माइंड, तो इसलिए मैं बोल दूंगी कि एंजेला डेविस जो है वो तो बहुत ही एक बहुत ही एक इसकी वर्क में एक अर्जेंसी है और एक फ्रेमवर्क उसने प्रोवाइड किया है, जिससे हम ऑपरेशन को भी समझें और लिबरेशन को भी समझें. वेरी फर्मली रूटेड इन मार्क्सिस्ट मटेरियलिज्म. तो इसलिए वो सारे स्ट्रक्चरल फोर्सेस को हाईलाइट करती है ना, बहुत अच्छे से वो समझ भी आता है जब वो हाईलाइट करती है ना कि कैपिटलिज्म, रेसिज्म, इंपीरियलिज्म, ये सब कैसे मिले जुले हुए हैं. लेकिन एक रिलीजियस पर्सपेक्टिव से अगर हम लोग देखें तो अम, मतलब आई थिंक उसका वर्क, आई डोंट नो वेदर उसके दूसरे काम के बारे में कि नहीं, बट it also kind of जो faith traditions है and how historically um, both like ethical and sources of resilience, they have been sources of resilience against injustice. So like Martin Luther King जो था वो Christian theology में junior he was rooted जब US civil rights struggle हो रहा था. And even like there are उसके फ्रेमवर्क भी हैं इस्लामिक एंड क्रिश्चियन लिबरेशन थियोलॉजीज के, जैसे कि लैटिन अमेरिका में, एक मिनट दो, 2 मिनट दो, क्रिश्चियन थियोलॉजिस्ट जो हैं वो अपना एक फ्रेमवर्क बनाए हुए हैं लिबरेशन का. एंड आई थिंक द फैक्ट दैट शी डज नॉट मेंशन इट, और द फैक्ट दैट शी मतलब उसको मेंशन ही नहीं करती है रादर देन एंगेजिंग विद, आई फील लाइक समटाइम्स ये एक एक थोड़ा सा हम लोगों के लिए डिसएडवांटेज होता है, बिकॉज द फैक्ट दैट इवन इफ यू क्रिटिक इट, even if you mention it, that would itself would be great. तो एक ये है मेरा कि there are faith based liberation frameworks which kind of put the idea of liberation and God at the center. Of course we are not expecting this from Angela Davis, but some kind of engagement with it would also be good. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you for that, Sanya. You're so right, and I think you're right. It should be a very obvious critique, but हमको पढ़ते वक्त ये बिल्कुल भी जहन में नहीं आया. तो it is very interesting to now think of it कि हाँ एक religious aspect भी है to the kind of activism we do and the kind of belief systems we have and perpetuate. And now when I think of it, the US has also had like people like Malcolm X and other people from institutions like that, जिनका or even Muhammad Ali for that matter, he wasn't necessarily an activist, but उनकी बातें जो थी, all of these are so like talking about and against the oppression of African Americans in America, but it is also very rooted in how they think of and live through an Islamic perspective. So,
Not just Islamic, like even Christians have been doing it. So Latin America and like you rightly said, Malcolm X. So yeah, I think it is about time secular scholars, Marxist scholars start taking that into account as well. Because how do you explain Palestinian resistance without God? It is central to it. There and you can
absolutely.
always say that religion can be a source of oppression, it can be a source of liberation, but everything else can be. I wouldn't say capitalism just up like all of capitalism is a source of oppression. It can be a source of liberation, like just money in the hand of women. Sometimes it can be. So all of it can be critiqued that way. Marxist, socialist, they can be a source of oppression as well, and we all know that. तो ये कहना कि yeah, religion can be that. Yes, it can be that, but we need to like kind of go beyond that and yeah, same ही बात मैं बोल रही हूँ कि engage with it. Scholars need to engage.
Yes, and if we acknowledge lived experiences, then it becomes even more important to think of it जिस तरह से आप बोल रहे हैं कि it can be a source of oppression and a source of liberation. Everything can be that. So why is religion being sort of singled out and left out of the conversation in a sense? Absolutely.
But despite that, she has so much to add, and that itself is like really good. Yeah. और ऐसे क्रिटिक बोलते हैं कि वो बोलती है कि डीकोलोनियल पर्सपेक्टिव से बात करें, बट स्टिल उसका जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, इट इज rooted in US centered African American Marxist standpoint. But then how you can't take someone very far, right? She cannot speak like an Asian.
Yes.
So like she is what she is and she'll speak from that. But log bolte hain ki if you're talking about a decolonial but have you actually fully dismantled Eurocentric categories? But then I feel like yeah, she is from there, so she will be speaking on it. Yeah, but then she does a good job in highlighting global connections. और किसी को कुछ अगर कोई जहन में आ रहा है okay. Jazakallah khair, Sara. I really enjoyed listening to you.
Jazakallah.
And
I'm
I'm
so
pretty
glad.
sure when we put it on YouTube, like there'll be so many more people who will benefit from this. Because I don't
Inshallah.
think ऐसा कुछ भी available होगा उर्दू में.
हाँ वो लैंग्वेज के हिसाब से तो हाँ आई थिंक ओके देन एंड ये स्लाइड जो अभी स्क्रीन पे इट्स जस्ट टू इवन इफ किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा है एक चैप्टर भी बट जस्ट टू इवन एटलीस्ट आफ्टर वी हैव डिस्कस द बुक इस पॉइंट तक just to think about it more even if you don't go back and maybe read it entirely just to engage with the book थोड़ा बहुत हाँ